Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a period in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that stirred up a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
And, let's be honest, quite a bit of debate. Marvel's Phase 4. You know, after the monumental climax of the Infinity Saga with Avengers, Endgame,
Hmm.
it just felt like a definitive book had slammed shut.
Absolutely. I mean, the departure of central figures like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers left a real void, right?
Yeah.
And with it, that clear forward-driving purpose the MCU had always had kind of vanished.
Mm-hmm.
The big question on everyone's mind was, okay, what could possibly come next?
So our mission today is to really explore Phase 4, that sprawling, sometimes chaotic, and profoundly divisive collection of films, and for the first time, those deeply integrated TV series.
This Disney Plus stuff, yeah.
Between 2021 and 2022, we'll be digging into the core insights, trying to understand why it got so much critiques for feeling aimless, and why, as the material we've looked at suggests, just dismissing it as a failure of vision might be missing the point entirely. This whole great unraveling, as some have called it.
Right.
It wasn't just an accident. It was, in many ways, a necessary, even if sometimes clumsy response to following up such a perfect ending.
That's a really interesting way to frame it.
Now, when Phase 4 kicked off, the prevailing narrative, you heard it everywhere, was one of decline, like quantity over quality.
Yeah, that was definitely out there.
But what our deep dive into the sources reveals is truly fascinating, that perceived aimlessness wasn't really a flaw. It was actually its most potent thematic statement. How does that work?
Well, what's really striking here is that the lack of a single villain or, a clear overarching goal wasn't a narrative oversight at all. Not really.
Okay.
It was a direct reflection of the universe's new reality, post-blip. I mean, think about it. A world grappling with immense loss, the return of half its population.
Right, total chaos.
Exactly. So just introducing his simple next big bad right after Endgame, it would have felt kind of emotionally dishonest, wouldn't it?
Yeah, hollow, maybe?
Precisely. The heroes themselves were completely adrift. Wanda Maximoff just consumed by grief. Sam Wilson questioning the Shield's legacy. Thor searching for purpose. Their struggles mirrored the audience's own search for a new anchor in this changed landscape.
So the structure, the collection of seemingly disconnected character studies that mirrored the world's state.
Yeah, the psychological fragmentation of its world, it was baked into the structure itself.
And the structural shift came with that huge expansion too, right? The Disney Plus series like WandaVision and Loki being totally interwoven with the films.
Absolutely critical.
That really changed the viewing experience. People started calling it franchise homework.
Yeah, that term came up a lot.
And for new viewers, it felt like a significant barrier to entry.
Exactly, and this increased cognitive load, just trying to keep track of everything, combined with the sheer volume of new content, that became a primary driver of what we heard labeled superhero fatigue.
Right, but was it fatigue with superheroes themselves or something else?
Well, the sources suggest it wasn't necessarily fatigue with the genre itself. It was more about the logistical and temporal demands.
Just keeping up.
Yeah, keeping up with this modern transmedia cinematic universe model that Phase 4 pioneered on, an unprecedented and maybe unsustainable scale. Through all this, the MCU really embarked on its most ambitious and maybe perilous journey, trying to figure out how to find meaning after the end of the world as they knew it.
So instead of just pushing forward, Phase 4 started by, digging deep into its own past.
Yeah, looking backward first.
The first two movies, Black Widow and Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, they felt like a new kind of thing. Our material calls them retroactive prequels.
It's an interesting term, yeah.
What does that mean exactly, and why was it significant?
Well, they weren't just simple gap-filling exercises, like here's what happened then.
Right.
Think of them more as acts of narrative archaeology. They went back and recontextualized events, characters from the universe's past, but did it in a way that gave entirely new weight and meaning to its future. It wasn't just backstory, it was groundwork.
Okay, let's start with Black Widow. It came out in 2021 after all those pandemic dies.
Yeah, finally.
And it really felt like a somber, kind of belated elegy for Natasha Romanoff, exploring that idea of manufactured versus chosen family through her flashbacks.
It did. And the film, I think, bravely exposed the sinister reality of the Red Room, how it systematically stripped young girls of their autonomy to forge them into weapons.
Pretty dark stuff.
Very. But its true emotional heart, I think, was in the pained reunion of that fake family. especially with Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova.
Oh, she was fantastic.
Right. Her caustic wit and that eye-rolling sarcasm, it barely concealed this deep well of trauma. And the director, Kate Shortland, she brought a real indie sensibility to it, exploring serious themes like human trafficking, the legacy of trauma, all while setting the stage for a phase really preoccupied with legacy by passing on the Black Widow mantle.
Okay, and then there was Shang-Chi. That felt completely different, like a vibrant, mythic reinvention of the origin story formula.
Totally.
Infused with the visual language and thematic grace of the wuxia genre. It felt like a mega-budget ballet sometimes.
It really was a triumph. The narrative is such a powerful exploration of Asian diaspora identity, Shang-Chi struggling to escape his father's shadow, trying to assimilate. And the film's greatest success, honestly, is Tony Leung's performance as Wenwu.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not just a one-dimensional tyrant. He's portrayed as this tragic figure, consumed by grief over his wife's death.
That focus on family drama, the broken bonds between father-son, the ignored daughter, gave it real emotional stakes.
Profound emotional stakes. And the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, clearly and consciously addressed past MCU missteps with Asian representation, particularly the whole problematic Mandarin thing.
Right. Fix that.
Yeah. And those action sequences. Just a revelation. Truly beautifully choreographed, legible combat. You could actually see what was happening.
Which isn't always the case.
Not always, no.
So, Shang-Chi really proved the MCU could not only represent new cultures, but successfully integrate their cinematic traditions, enriching the whole superhero genre in the process.
Definitely broadened the palette.
But perhaps no film in Phase 4 pushed the boundaries or revealed more about the MCU's evolving identity than Eternals.
Ah, yes.
Eternals.
Marvel Studios handed the reins to Chloe Zhao, fresh off her huge Academy Award wins for Nomadland. This felt like a massive swing.
It really was the phase's most ambitious experiment, like a true test of the elasticity of the Marvel House style.
How far could it stretch?
Exactly. And it exposed a fundamental tension. The conflict between an audience saying they want innovation
and their deep-seated attachment to a familiar formula. It became a real litmus test, if you will, for how much a director's unique vision, their autorism, could truly shine within a massive franchise like the MCU.
And Zhao brought her signature style completely into the MCU, didn't she? It looks so different.
Absolutely. She shot extensively on location, used those wide-angle lenses to constantly frame her godlike characters against, like, the breathtaking, tangible beauty of the real world.
Yeah, those vistas.
And her use of magic hour lighting created this warm, ethereal glow. It was such a stark contrast to typical Marvel project.
Totally.
This patient, observational style, it felt more Terrence Malick than Jack Kirby. It lent a sense of gravitas, a naturalistic texture that felt utterly alien to the established MCU aesthetic.
And thematically, it wasn't simple good versus evil either.
Not at all. It was this complex, almost biblical meditation on faith, creation, free will. The Eternals themselves, synthetic beings created by a celestial Orisham, with this singular, horrifying purpose: nurture humanity's growth as an energy source for a new celestial, which would destroy Earth in the process.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. So the core conflict was existential. It pitted those who maintained faith in their creator's design against those who, after 7,000 years, had actually come to love humanity and chose to defy their God.
Wow.
This allowed the film to explore really profound questions about the value of humanity, the nature of purpose, the morality of, utilitarian sacrifice.
But that radical departure was deeply divisive. It became the first MCU film to earn a rotten rating from critics.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Why do you think it alienated so many? Was Marvel trying to do too much, or was the audience just not ready for that kind of depth from a superhero movie?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Detractors found it ponderous. The pacing too slow, the large ensemble cast, maybe underdeveloped for some.
Spread too thin.
Maybe. For many, it felt like a flawed compromise. Too slow and philosophical for a typical blockbuster, yet still too constrained by franchise demands to be pure Zhao. And the comparison to Spider-Man No Way Home, which came out shortly after, is really telling. It reveals a crucial lesson from Phase 4. In this huge, sprawling universe, audiences often crave emotional depth over narrative breadth.
Character connection.
Yeah. Investment in character, it turns out, is a far more powerful tool than introducing even the most awe-inspiring cosmic lore. People need someone to latch onto.
And speaking of that emotional depth, the multiverse. first really seeded in the Loki series on Disney Plus,
Oh,
right?
TVA.
That became like the central organizing principle, or at least a major thread of Phase 4.
See it that way, yeah.
Yet within just 6 months, we saw Spider-Man. No Way Home and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness demonstrate just how wildly divergent those possibilities could be.
Oh, completely different takes. They
Eh.
really represent the two poles of the multiverse as a concept. One, a tool for catharsis, wish fulfillment almost,
Right. No Way Home,
and the other, a conduit for pure horror.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Together, they offer this unintentional but fascinating commentary on the very nature of canon and fan expectation.
Okay, No Way Home. A cultural phenomenon, truly. It felt like a massive fan service event on one level.
Oh, absolutely transparent fan service.
But beyond that, why do you think it resonated so deeply, maybe becoming the most emotionally impactful film since Endgame for a lot of people?
Well, director John Watts and his writers, they understood something crucial. The return of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as their Spider-Man and those classic villains,
Yeah.
it held a power far beyond just mere recognition, like, oh, hey, it's that guy. The narrative was built entirely upon the emotional foundation of 5 previous non-MCU films. It leveraged the audience's 20-year history with these characters.
Right, our own history.
Exactly. To create this story about legacy, responsibility, redemption, the interactions between the 3 Peter Parkers weren't just a gimmick. They were the absolute heart of the story.
Look at the therapy session scene.
Yeah. Forming a support group, sharing traumas, offering empathy, and this led to profound catharsis. Garfield Peter getting his chance at redemption by saving MJ.
Oh, yeah.
Maguire's Peter stopping Tom Holland's vengeful Peter from making that same terrible mistake. And for Holland's Peter, encountering his older selves, combined with Aunt May's tragic death, it completed his transformation. He truly internalized, with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Finally got there.
And made the ultimate sacrifice,
Yeah.
allowing the world, everyone, to forget Peter Parker. It was a masterclass in leveraging that existing emotional investment.
So where No Way Home used the multiverse to unite and heal, Multiverse of Madness completely flipped the script.
Oh, yeah.
Used it to fracture and terrify. This really marked Sam Raimi's triumphant return to superheroes.
Back in the saddle.
But with his full horror sensibilities just unleashed.
Totally. From its opening sequence, the film just announced itself as the MCU's first genuine horror movie.
It really felt like it.
A kaleidoscopic nightmare of demonic entities, jump scares, gruesome violence. The multiverse here is chaotic, dangerous, and the primary threat. One of the Avengers' own, Wanda Maximoff.
Picking up after WandaVision.
Right. The film charts Wanda's tragic descent into the monstrous Scarlet Witch. Her mind corrupted, her soul consumed by this desperate desire to be reunited with her children.
Her grief became the monster.
It's portrayed as a terrifying, relentless force of nature. And the film is just an unabashed showcase of Raimi's trademarks. Those dizzying crash zooms, canted angles, a gleeful embrace of the macabre. Most notably in that sequence where Wanda just systematically and brutally murders the Illuminati.
That was shocking.
Yeah. A team of fan-favorite heroes from an alternate universe just wiped out. That sequence was, in many ways, the film's thesis statement on the multiverse. It's a place where fan expectations are built up only to be violently torn down. Don't get too comfortable.
A very Raimi message.
Very Raimi.
Okay, so as Phase 4 drew toward its close, it really turned its focus to 2 powerful, long-suffering figures, Thor and the nation of Wakanda. Both films delivered direct but deeply divergent explorations of grief. These 2, Thor, Love and Thunder and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, they serve as such a powerful case study in the risks and rewards of letting directors drive sequels.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You have one director repeating a successful formula and arguably scumbling.
Love and Thunder.
And the other forced to innovate by tragic circumstance, creating a sequel that felt maybe more vital and profound.
Wakanda Forever. Let's talk Love and Thunder first. On paper, it had the elements of a truly powerful story.
Absolutely.
It juggled multiple threads of profound pathos. Jane Foster battling stage 4 cancer, Gore the God Butcher driven by this tragic righteous fury after his daughter dies, and Thor himself just adrift, hiding this existential loneliness behind jokes. Christian Bale's performance as Gore was particularly singled out as a highlight.
Yeah, he was great. Genuinely terrifying yet deeply sympathetic.
So what went wrong? Why did it feel off for so many?
Well, the director, Taika Waititi, he chose to really double down on the comedic 80s rock opera aesthetic that made Thor Ragnarok's such a smash hit.
Tried to catch lightning twice.
Kind of. And the result was a film that felt completely at war with itself. The relentless, often juvenile humor, the screaming goats,
Whoa, the goose!
a love triangle involving two hammers, an indolent Zeus. It's just clashed violently with the story's incredibly dark, emotional core.
Yeah, the tone was all over the place.
Critics lamented it felt aimless, unfocused, constantly undercutting its own stakes. I mean, a story about a woman dying of cancer and a man whose atheism is born from the deepest possible pain. That was arguably the worst possible canvas for Waititi's brand of detached, ironic comedy.
Bad fit.
It really felt like a critical miscalculation. I remember seeing those screaming goats and just thinking, that's certainly a choice.
Whereas Love and Thunder kind of fumbled its themes of grief, Black Panther. Wakanda Forever embraced them with a solemnity and grace that was both heartbreaking and beautiful.
Yeah, completely different approach.
The production was just irrevocably shaped by Chadwick Boseman's tragic death, which director Ryan Coogler chose not to sidestep, but to confront directly, weaving it into the very fabric of the narrative.
Which must have been incredibly difficult. The film opens with King T'Challa's death from a mysterious illness, and what follows is essentially a collective, feature-length exploration of mourning. Coogler's described grief as a bomb that goes off, affecting everyone. And he structured the film to explore its varied impacts on characters like Shuri, burying sorrow in science, then rage.
Right.
Queen Ramonda balancing her own loss with leadership. Nakia processing grief through self-imposed exile.
Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett were incredible.
Phenomenal. Coogler's patient, emotionally honest direction allowed these character arcs to breathe. It created a film that functions as both a compelling narrative and a powerful, really cathartic tribute.
And they had to completely rewrite it, right? The original script was different.
Totally discarded. The original was a father-son story centered on T'Challa. So this grief-stricken nation then confronts a new threat. The underwater civilization of Talokan, led by the powerful mutant Namor.
Tenochtitlan. Also amazing.
Fantastic. And the film deepened the anti-colonial themes of the first, brilliantly positioning the conflict not as simple good versus evil,
No.
but as this tragic clash between two nations, both victimized by colonialism, being manipulated into fighting each other, while Western powers lurk in the background.
Yeah, that was powerful.
Namor is presented as one of the MCU's most complex antagonists, an anti-villain whose extreme methods are born from a justifiable desire to protect his people. The result is just a film of immense emotional weight and political resonance.
So when we look back, wrapping this up, what's the legacy of Phase 4? From everything we've looked at, it feels like one of contradictions.
That sums it up pretty well.
It was arguably Marvel's most turbulent period, marked by divisive films, scattered narratives. Yet it was also, surprisingly perhaps, the studio's most creatively daring phase.
It absolutely was. That great unraveling, moving from the singular forward-marching Infinity Saga into this, constellation of distinct, genre-inflected, thematically varied stories. That represents the necessary maturation, I think, of the whole cinematic universe concept. It was messy, it was uneven, sure, but ultimately essential for growth.
So
By deliberately breaking its universe into these distinct subgenres, the multiversal, the cosmic, the supernatural, the street-level Marvel, sacrificed the narrative clarity of its past for a future with far greater possibility.
And this fragmentation, while it fueled so much debate about a lack of cohesion,
Which it definitely did.
it also allowed for an unprecedented diversity of tone, style, and representation, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It created a space where a martial arts epic like Shang-Chi could coexist with a cosmic treatise on faith like Eternals,
Right.
or the nostalgic celebration of Spider-Man No Way Home could be followed immediately by the genre horror of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. This phase proved that the superhero genre could be a vessel for nearly any kind of story, from a gritty spy thriller to a somber meditation on grief. Now, while the increased demand on viewers to keep up with an ever-expanding roster of films and series was a significant factor in that superhero fatigue.
Can't ignore that.
No. But the content itself often pushed boundaries. Phase 4's true contribution, I think, was to prove that the MCU could evolve beyond just being the road to the next Avengers model.
It doesn't always have to be about the big crossover.
Exactly. It demonstrated that the genre could sustain itself through character-driven drama, auteurist vision, thematic depth, even without the immediate promise of an imminent world-ending crossover. That fatigue it generated, it wasn't really a sign of the genre's death, but maybe more its growing pains.
Growing pains.
Yeah, the difficult, awkward, but vital process of the universe learning to live with its own infinite possibilities.
This deep dive really makes you think about how even the biggest, most established stories have to find new ways to evolve after what feels like a definitive ending. It's a huge challenge of reinvention, isn't it?
It really highlights that continuous challenge, yeah. Balancing innovation, artistic vision with audience comfort, audience expectations, all within this ever-expanding universe. It's a real tightrope walk.
So, for you, our listener, here's a final thought to maybe mull over. If the superhero fatigue of Phase 4 was truly, as we discussed, growing pains rather than a terminal illness for the genre, what radical experiment, or perhaps even a deliberate return to simplicity, might be the next necessary step for these shared cinematic universes to truly thrive in the long run? What comes after the unraveling?